Welcome to Exposing Workplace Bullying, where we pull back the curtain and have real conversations about workplace abuse. It's so great to be back with you for Season 2, The Bystander Effect. This is Episode 11, Bystanders. Who are you? I'm your host, Dr. Jan Kircher. This season, we're going to shed some light on bystanders and really get a better understanding of who they are and how they impact people who are bullied. Are they really the heroes people make them out to be? The saviors we're told who will step in when bullying happens? I guess we'll find out. Before we get too far into it, I want to make something perfectly clear. This season is not me talking to bystanders. This is me talking to you, the person who has been bullied, to help you understand bystanders. Of course, I welcome bystanders to listen, but this podcast is for people like me, those who've been bullied and blamed for it, to understand why bystanders are merely viewed as observers. One thing you might be wondering is why I chose bystanders over bullies for Season 2. And that is a great question. I really thought long and hard about this season and what would be the best path for us to take. But I chose bystanders for a couple of different reasons. And one is because they do play a unique but very problematic role in bully culture. Bystanders are almost never called out as part of the problem. They're always presented as the potential solution. Just speak up, be an ally, say something. So when we see them as the solution, even though bystanders almost never help, and we rarely ask why or what they gain from the bullying itself. The second reason is that when we understand the bystander and the role they play in bullying, it helps us understand why it's so problematic, complicated, and why people look at us like we are the problem. But I'll be honest, it took me years to understand how bystanders who claim they're just staying silent become part of the bullying. And that understanding did not come easily to me. It wasn't a light bulb moment where suddenly things clicked. It came to me after years of being bullied, when I was deeply, deeply frustrated with my colleagues who told me privately that what was happening was wrong and that they despised Bob for his bullying, but then laughed at me during meetings while Bob was bullying me. I couldn't understand it until I started looking at bullying from a bird's eye view. I finally saw how powerful group dynamics are in sustaining bully culture. And frankly, it all made sense. Even though the pieces fit together, as the person who was bullied, it still hurt like hell. And that's exactly why in this season, we're going to put a few more pieces of the bully culture puzzle together and finally put the bystanders in the hot seat for once. And will I enjoy that? Just a little? Maybe I will. Maybe. So here's the path we're going to take. We're going to start by shattering the biggest myth that you can stay neutral. We'll look at why staying out of it is an illusion and how it always ends up protecting the bully and hurting us. There is absolutely no neutrality in bully culture. Then we'll get inside the psychology of the group, why decent people you thought you could count on, will so often choose to conform rather than to do what's right, and how they end up seeing you as the outsider. We'll face one of the hardest truths the moment a bystander crosses the line and bullies in order to save face, and how that betrayal unfolds. It's followed by the profound pain of abandonment, the trauma that comes not just from the bully, but from the bystanders who allow it to happen. Then comes the big shift. We move from understanding the problem to untangling the group dynamics, figuring out who's genuine, who's in it for themselves, and who's been playing along with the bully. It's about seeing people clearly again, deciding who you can trust and whether any of them are worth rebuilding a real partnership with. And also, of course, if any of the bystanders in your workplace are worth their weight in gold. And if they are, this season will show them how to actually do something more than just speaking up. It'll give you real ways to reach out and a few ideas even for how you and a bystander can become true collaborative partners. This season is packed full, and it's all about turning awareness into action. But if I'm honest, this one is personal for me, because what hurt the most in my own experience wasn't just what the bully did. Now, don't get me wrong, my bullies were beyond mean, but the real sting came from the others, the ones who watched, put their heads down, or pulled me aside later to say, "That was awful. I'm so sorry." But that's the thing about bystanders. Their guilt shows up years later when it doesn't matter anymore. I recently heard that a former colleague teared up when my name came up. She said she remembered what happened. Of course she did. We worked in the same place, sat in the same meetings. But now it's too late. It doesn't matter, because if it did, she'd tell me herself. But that would take courage. The truth is, she knew what was happening, and that's what really hurts. She knew, and I didn't matter to her. But that's fine, because I just don't have time for that anymore. And in case you're wondering, yes, I'm working hard at letting it go. When you're being bullied, it's hard to work with people you thought you could trust, the ones who look away or hang their heads. When that happens, when you're literally being abused, it's not just silence, it's betrayal. It confirms the bully's power, the bystander's participation, and it isolates you even more. That's what we're talking about this season. The truth about bystanders, how they become part of the system, how they keep it alive, and why their inaction is a conscious choice that fuels the abuse and sustains bully culture. In this season, we're pulling back the curtain on bystanders so you can see the full picture. How bystanders become part of the system, keep it alive, and why their inaction is a conscious choice that fuels the abuse and sustains bully culture. Up next, episode 11, The Myth of Neutrality, and why staying out of it is just another way of siding with the bully or saying, I'm with Bob. Thank you so much for being here and for listening. If this episode hits home, check out StopBullyCulture.com, where I share tools, resources, and real talk to help you deal with workplace abuse. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, share it with them. Until next time.
They gaslight and plot, play their games. Witness a smile, you're part of the shame. Your boss stays silent, closing the door. How many voices will they ignore? The bully lies, the brave get burned. The office watches, no lessons learned. Your boss hides, truth gets colder. It's time to stop the bully culture.